In this video, we're going to be talking about the 1963 classic Italian film, The Leopard, directed by Luchino Visconti, starring Burt Lancaster. We're Coffee with Aliens at the Movies, a film educational and review channel. I'm Robert Bellissimo. I'm an actor and acting teacher.
I'm Steve Chambers. I'm a writer and actor.
And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button in the description box below. All right, let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, I'll start with this. No, you called it a classic. I'm gonna fight you on this one.
Okay. You know what? That was my initial reaction as well. I thought, because I'd seen it before. Definitely, it's well over 10 years ago, and as I mentioned to you, I thought, you know, this is kind of dull. I don't know why it's so such a, you know, Scorsese has said it's his favorite film.
Yes.
Coppola said it's his favorite film.
Yes.
And when I watched it again last night, I didn't think it was dull. I was enjoying it more, but I wasn't convinced that it was a classic. I thought, but then as it ended, I realized why I was feeling that way. And it's because Visconti doesn't give you the historical context of why Italy, why they wanted to unify then, what was happening politically that was necessary. So for me, as soon as it ended, I wanted to go, and I did, and I Googled what was going on in Italy at that time, because it doesn't tell you. So you feel like if you don't know the political circumstances of that time, that you're looking for those answers, and you feel like you need it in order to enjoy the film. Then I thought, no, this is not just a story. This is basically essentially about how a man deals with a changing world and how he can fit in and carry down this bourgeois, Sicilian, aristocratic way of life. How to carry it down in this changing world. He is sympathetic towards the fact that the land is not shared, and they're basically living this bourgeois privileged life while others can't even vote as a result of the politics at that time. So his whole thing at first, he says, well, you know, they're going to run over my land, but it's Delon, his nephew, who's, of course, if anyone hasn't seen it, is part of this revolution, and he's a fighter with the red shirts who were fighting the Sicilian army. And he said, no, in order for everything to stay the same, everything must change. And that was the key. Lancaster's character, the prince, realizes, yes, okay, I have to compromise here. So it's really him finding his way through that. In the middle of the film, he solves his problems, but then it's like, wait a minute, where am I now? Where am I going to go now? And, you know, he's only 45, but I guess back then that was considered really old. And I thought that's the key. It's really about this man. So I think as an audience, you have to let go of, you know, our mind is always wanting to know answers. Well, why is this happening? Why is that? What's the context? I think you have to let go of that and focus on the prince. So
Everything you just said, that's amazing. Because while you were talking, I had arguments, and then I didn't. So I was like, oh. And then I was like, well, this. And then I thought, oh. And in the end, you convinced me of nothing except that you like it, and that's important.
Okay.
I'm not being funny. Like that. Okay. Like for me, The Leopard. I remember when I saw it, I had a similar experience in that right away, not consciously. I didn't ask myself anything consciously, like, do I understand the context? What's this really about? I just watched it, but quickly kind of felt, again, not consciously, that, and you said this really well, I'm not really sure the historical goings on right now, so I'm just going to kind of let go of that and watch. And that's what I did. And when I did that, it takes you away, and I think successfully. You said it wasn't about the year this took place. It wasn't about the political or the war, the conflict and the war. It was about this guy getting older and figuring out his new place in the world going forward. I got that. And so it's up to you and I, or whoever's watching this, to, well, yeah, but I want to know what was happening historically. That's awesome. I don't think that means Visconti didn't make it work. I just, for me, think that regardless of all that, I am not interested in seeing it again.
My reaction is I want to see it again. But you can also go back to it and see so much about the psychology of this man, how he handled the situation with compassion, with grace, and again, also, you know, getting emotionally wrapped up in realizing that he's getting older. And the brilliance is, and I don't know if there's another director who has done a film where so little is said about what's happening with the character, yet visually he tells it all. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is like the great silent filmmakers or even Hitchcock, but Hitchcock does it in moments. Visconti does it the last hour of the film, the great ballroom scene, and Lancaster's there, and he's watching all these people dance, and he's watching these young people, but the thing is, it's not like it's just cutting to him sad watching, where it would be, oh yes, he's sad because he no longer fits in and the youth are rising up. No, Lancaster is talking about the fact that it's hot in there. Yeah. He's talking about the fact that he's hot and sweating, but everyone's hot. He's the only one because he's getting older. He's like, I gotta sit down. He never talks about anything, the fact that he's getting older and that the time is passing. Again, it's two sides of the coin. He's talking about one thing, but yet something else is going on. You know, he's talking about the fact that he's not hungry. He doesn't want to eat the food in the buffet. He's looking at the painting, which is so clearly a dying man. Even in the ballroom scene, the shot is wider of him sitting there sweating. It's not just right in on his face. It's only right in on his face when he goes to the washroom and he looks in the mirror, which is the classic, the tear. That's more obvious, where it's like, God, you know, again, the world's changing, and I don't fit in, and maybe my family will be able to carry the legacy, but it's like, that's it. That's it. I'm done. And it's like that crisis, right? So it's that to me it's like, wow, how Visconti could do so much emotionally by purely not just visual, but characters talking about something else. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is what's so fascinating, to go back to discover so much about the psychology of this man who, and Lancaster was fascinated by his personality. So I think that's why I think it truly is a great character study in that regard.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I really do. That's actually very, very well said. I admit, the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, okay. Okay. And then I hear
steering you over to the Leopard.
And I initially said about the Leopard, something you think your way through, but you've got me thinking that, no, you do feel like Visconti is very good at that.
Yeah.
But then the Hollywood part of me is like, oh, really? If he can say so much, why did it take him 3 fucking hours? Why can't he do it in 2?
And Lancaster and Visconti was treating Lancaster like shit because he didn't want him. There was a lot of tension, and apparently within a few weeks of the filming, Lancaster in front of everyone screamed at Visconti and basically had this huge row with him, and that's when it turned around for Visconti. And this is what I love about certain filmmakers, or anyone really, is that it's not like, hey, how dare you, I'm the director, and ego. It was more like, whoa, this guy's got passion. You know,
there we go.
This guy, he's not just doing this film for some cash. He cares about this movie, you know. He did, right? Lancaster.
Oh, Lancaster, that was his favorite director. He said he did love the book, and he went on to say that was his favorite director. And Visconti didn't even. I think he wanted some like old Russian guy, and
wanted a Russian,
yeah. And then he kind of went to Olivier, anyway, ended with Burt Lancaster,
Right.
and who is there solely to get financing.
Which actually the studio, he knew that Lancaster was an option.
Yeah.
But the studio just picked him. It wasn't like, okay, you pick from these three. They were like, okay, Lancaster or whatever. It was like, you know, it was just like, yeah, like it went from, okay, it's between these three, and then it was like, no, it's Lancaster. And then he was like, and his reaction was like that cowboy. The very last thing I wanted to bring up and ask you was, do you think, you know, if Hollywood wanted to do this film, do you think it was purely to compete with television at that time in the 60s, of course, to have these big spectacles and VistaVision and war and castles and the visuals? Do you think that perhaps that was the main appeal as a way to say, hey, they can't do this on TV? Because in the 60s, that was a big thing. Cleopatra, movies like that.
Yes, I do think that. Sorry, to answer that question, yes, I do think it had a lot to do to compete with. TV was so easy.
Yeah.
To stay at home and we're going to offer you stuff you can't get at home. Right.
Because I actually thought it was a pure Italian production, but then when I saw, this was a co-Hollywood, then I was like, must have been the spectacle of it. And then of course, like we've mentioned, the cutting out an hour of it and to screw over the art of it was what really pissed off Visconti. But I think that's a good place for us to end it. And I think this was a great one. This is a great chat, and I wanted to mention you can stream it on YouTube to rent for $5 or $10. However, don't go to the one on YouTube because it's the English Hollywood one, which is the 40 minutes cut out. So I wouldn't watch that one because it's the one Visconti hated, and you probably won't like it. What I would do, I think it was on Canopy, and it's not on Canopy.
It's not now.
No, and it's not on the Criterion channel. However, our friends at Unobstructed View have it on for Blu-ray and DVD to order. So I will drop those links in the description box below. And yes, that's it. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you haven't already done so, please hit subscribe. In the bottom right of our screen is the little subscribe icon you can click on. And we will see you next time. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Ed. Okay.
Take care.